And as someone who's completely new to the Castlevania series, aside from watching a few episodes occasionally of the Netflix series Nocturne, when its very first season had initially premiered many, many years ago now. Going back to this looks absolutely incredible here, and the gameplay looks really fun and solid. The animations look really, really smooth, and this combat looks extremely rewarding, but also challenging, which I found to be a staple of the series here. So I thought, while we look toward the future here, I feel like at the same time, it's always good to try and go back to a series to see where everything originally began. So I did just that. Recently, I had picked up the Castlevania Anniversary Collection as well as the Castlevania Advanced Collection, and might I just say that these games, while incredibly impressive for their time and what they could do based on the hardware limitations of the gaming industry at the time as well, these games absolutely kicked my butt. That's no exaggeration here at all. These games, while incredibly fun and enjoyable, will test you and your patience to the utmost limits. I mean that quite literally. Going through and playing the original very first Castlevania game was a true test of not just my patience, but my dedication to finding out what exactly I can do and cannot do. However, I wanted to switch gears then and see what more modern-ish entries of the series were like. So, I went ahead and got the Advanced Collection, featuring, while a smaller number of games, I found the quality of these to be a lot more higher, and the gameplay overall, like the gameplay loop, was a lot more fun. And that led me then to something quite bizarre. An entire genre of Castlevania spin-off games. So for instance, there's this one coming out. It was supposed to be released last year, but as of the time of this video, it is not released yet. That is the Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest. So this game looks incredibly promising. However, these seem to be answering everything that I was, like I said, initially looking for in terms of challenge and variety here when it comes to different gameplay and what to do. And not just simply beating up enemies left and right and then proceeding onward to the next area of the castle, or level as it were. Oh no, so Simon's Quest here looks to be, like I said, the answer to all these problems. And you've even got different environments here, different types of enemies, different hazards even. I mean, it's the whole complete package here. So whenever this comes out, I am definitely picking that up. But then I found, in fact, more spin-off games. So for instance, this anime aesthetic inspired one called Gal Guardians, I had to pick that up too. I mean, come on, if it's anime, I'm going to be right there. So this is another one that I found to be incredibly fun. Now, in this one, there are two playable characters that you can switch back and forth between, one offering a close melee-style combat experience with physical attacks, and the other one is more of a long-range fighter with a weapon. But then that led me to Lords of Shadow. So this is something I didn't ever really know about the Castlevania series, that they had their own 3D action games similar to, say, God of War, basically, with its own unique magical spin on things. This is very, very early in the game. I literally just started this game not too long ago, and I'm having a blast with it and hope to eventually beat this game and then pick up the sequel Mirror of Fate, as well as Lords of Shadow 2. Hopefully when I'm able to beat this game and get everything out of it, because I want to see everything that this game has to offer. And who knows, maybe if this new Belmont's Curse game does well, maybe we'll possibly get, say, a sequel to this series in some form. Maybe. I mean, it could just be wishful thinking, and the fact that I'm just experiencing this game for the first time, as well as its type for Castlevania. But I mean, I think it could do really well. Maybe not even a sequel, but maybe perhaps some kind of remake of some kind, or something set in like this same type of universe, but maybe with a different Belmont instead of Gabriel here. But otherwise, from what I could, take away so far from this is that the setting is great, the weapons are great, the soundtrack, everything, the gameplay feels smooth. Despite this game coming out many, many years ago, like from the Xbox 360, PS3 era, But I mean, it still looks pretty good. This is, of course, running on PC with max settings and everything like that. So take that for what it's worth. But in my opinion, anyway, this holds up really, really well, even by today's standards. But then again, that's just me. Back to the real conversation, though. So for Belmont's Curse, I feel like this could be a real return to form, and it already has shown that it is, in fact, a real return to form for the franchise as a whole. Because going over and looking up the history of the series here, there has not been an actual mainline Castlevania game in many, many, and I mean many, that cannot be understated enough here, many years. And that's just insane to me. Why put out all these collections and stuff and compilations over the years if you're not going to eventually release a main game? I mean, just the years alone in between these collections was something, but the fact that it's been so long since any kind of type of mainline game has been released at all, it's just baffling. It's completely mind-blowing. You know, there's been nothing. I mean, it's just like, why? You think that, fans want more, and instead of just getting, older games to play, which are nice, don't get me wrong, because I know there's also the Dominus collection, which I've yet to pick up, but hopefully will at some point in the very soon inevitable future. But aside from that, it's like, where do new fans like me really truly begin their journey here to defeat Dracula, you know? The old games, while, a product of their time, it's really the best way I feel to get into the series, to really get a sense of the atmosphere here and just what exactly this series is all really about. Now, I know it's a little rough and it's definitely dated, but as you can see here from my footage, yes, this was me playing. It was definitely a journey. Now, I didn't get very far into this game at all, going off the anniversary collection here and whatnot, but getting a general feel of the mechanics and, of course, walking up and down stairs was probably more of a challenge than anything, if I really like to admit. It was really fun, though, overall, just seeing the series from its original, set of games and what shaped the foundation and laid the groundwork for everything we have now. It just really makes you appreciate everything that's come after this here and in between. Such as, like, for example, the Netflix show. I know we probably wouldn't have that, to say the least. And all these other cool spin-off games that I'm now getting into. It's just one of those things that it really puts everything into perspective here and really helps you appreciate just what we have. Because I feel like the Castlevania series is incredibly underrated and incredibly slept on. And I know, I've never talked about it on the channel here ever before, aside from the handful of characters that I covered on the Rivals of Ether workshop. And I can't believe I neglected this series for so long without ever getting into it until recently. And I'm incredibly glad that I did. I really feel like this series is truly slept on and deserves a lot more recognition in general. I mean, hey, if this Belmont's Curse game does well, like I had said previously, who knows what kind of spin-offs we could get. Maybe we could receive either a sequel to that game of some kind, or a different, game set in, say, the Lords of Shadow universe. I mean, I'm probably just reaching here, and it's probably just wishful thinking on my end, but I really want there to be another game set in that universe. I absolutely love the whole gothic aesthetic and just the atmosphere. It's so gritty and dark and brutal that, I'm a sucker for games like that really draw you into the experience and kind of just let you say, okay, here's this, have fun. And you're left to discover a lot of things on your own without the game holding your hand and guiding you, really. I mean, levels are fine, like linearity-wise. I'm not expecting like an open-world Castlevania game. That would be insane. And I don't know how that would even be possibly pulled off. But no, something perhaps linear, but at the same time, something that lets you have a lot of freedom with what you can do and what weapons you could discover probably would be incredibly awesome, in my humble opinion here. So yeah, I think though that Belmont's Curse is incredibly promising and could be the spark that I guess in a way it could be the spark that the series really needed to come back to former glory, to more of a point of discussion in the gaming industry instead of just talking about the classics here and the retro titles and what always could have been. It's a more modern discussion now that we could all be having about Castlevania and the future of the franchise as a whole, as well as, maybe this could lead to, say, another show with the main protagonist from Belmont's Curse maybe getting their own show. I don't know. I feel like this stuff could basically write itself in a way with all the different enemy designs and main characters that we've had over the years here. From what I could gather, it's focusing on the Belmont family and their infamous weapon known as a vampire killer, like the magical whip. So, I mean, I really feel like there's a lot that this series could tap into, especially the horror element here with the monsters and enemy designs. Like, for example, when I was playing through towards the end of the main first level in Castlevania Bloodlines, and I fought against this giant dog looking thing that would hop back and forth and breathe fire all over the place. If I saw this as a younger child, I would probably be traumatized a little bit. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. But I really do feel like the Castlevania series is incredibly, incredibly slept on and deserves a lot more love. Not just from Konami, but all the other developers too, that hopefully will be able to hopefully make more games going forward. If Belmont's Curse does well and is a financial success, then hey, I mean, I'm all for one for, more spin-off games and more Castlevania here. I want to, go toe-to-toe with Dracula, maybe perhaps every couple years if a new game is able to be greenlit and developed, in that kind of amount of time. Because the more that I play these games and the more that I get the formula down to what I'm doing with the gameplay loop, the more that I want to be, immersed in this world, in this universe here, and just see everything it has to offer in terms of its secrets and exploration and the backstory and the lore of all the characters and, what's going on. It's just that, incredible to me. I've never had a series do this before and, influence me so much in such a short amount of time. So, yeah. I'd say then on that note that would just about cover my thoughts here in terms of not just Belmont's Curse, but the entire, I guess you could say, Castlevania series so far, based on my experiences with the two anniversary collections and whatnot, and then playing through Lords of Shadow. This series, I feel, like I said, is incredibly underrated and deserves to have a lot more recognition, not just in the gaming industry, but in general, I'd say. So if you want to talk about Castlevania with me, let's get a conversation going down below here in the comment section. And let me know what you guys all think. Whether you're new to this channel or a existing subscriber here, why don't we get talking about everything Castlevania and the like here. So I'd say, yeah, on that note, that would just about do it though and wrap up my thoughts, at least at this time. But yeah, let me know then, guys, what you think about this down below, and let's get talking about everything Castlevania. So I've been your host for today, Azure, and I am signing off. But be sure to keep it tuned right here until we meet again next time in my next video when it drops. Until next time.